I'm not Corey, but I am worried about Wordle. So before I tell you why I'm worried about Wordle, I should probably explain what it is, for those of you who are living under a rock, because it has taken over the world, it seems. Wordle is a wonderfully simple but incredibly satisfying word game, which, as I said, kinda snowballed in popularity. One minute you see people posting tweets that are made up of square emojis and some numbers, and the next, everyone is tweeting their scores, talking about strategies, and making memes. If you're like me, that makes you ask the question, why is it so beloved? I think there were two main factors that made Wordle immediately popular. Its scarcity and its simplicity. Wordle is incredibly simple to learn, and at its core, you're just guessing a 5-letter word. You don't need to know definitions or do maths, and utilizing problem solving isn't even all that necessary. You could basically get by just through brute force. Anyone can play, and the skill ceiling is just super low. But the scarcity is what I find interesting. You get one word a day. That is it. No more. It's almost entirely antithetical to how modern media works. The rise of Netflix popularized the concept of binge watching in the mid-noughties, and now dropping an entire season of a TV show at once is commonplace. So much of our entertainment nowadays feels unlimited. If I want to sit and watch every single episode of The Simpsons right now, I can. I don't need to worry about it being on TV, or having it recorded, or finding the box sets, or even going out to rent it. All I need to do is log into Disney Plus on one of the computers that's available to me and watch The Simpsons. If I want to play a game on my Switch, I can download it and play it almost immediately. I can even download a game on my phone as an app if I wanted to, but not Wordle. It's not an app. The only way you can access it is by going to the website. And once you've played it for that day, that's it. You have to wait till tomorrow. You can't spend a $5 on gems or crystals or whatever other in-game currency you gotta spend real money to get. You just have to wait. It almost becomes a routine, you know? Checking the new Wordle, giving it a go, posting your results, seeing how your friends did, waiting till the next day to do it all over again. You don't really get that with other games nowadays. Wordle necessarily makes us feel like we're all in it together. The same word for us all. Once a day, every day. Everyone is equal in Wordle's eyes. Truly, a communist dream. But seriously, those two factors, simplicity and scarcity, add so much to what is essentially just a basic New York Times-esque puzzle. By making it so simple and limited, you essentially ensured that as many people as possible could start playing the game before the people already playing got bored and moved on. And that's not to mention the almost cryptic way that the scores are shared. It's simplified down to just emojis. If you're not in the know, you can't help but be curious about what all these little squares all over your timeline actually mean. And that wasn't even a marketing ploy. It wasn't even the guy that came up with Wordle's idea in the first place. He saw some users sharing their scores that way, and he decided to add it to the real thing. Everything about it seemed to either be well crafted or serendipitous. I just thought that Wordle was perfect. Too perfect. That is exactly what worried me. Wordle is really, really good. Almost too good to be true. There just had to be some dark, hidden secret behind that little word game. And then the story of why it was made comes out. Was it some company using it to steal data? Or had the creator recently decided to start a hate campaign fueled by their own trauma? Or maybe it was really bad for the environment. It burned down a tree for every single wrong guess you got. No. Was a love story. That's what the New York Times article said. Josh Wardle, software engineer, makes the game in 2013 for his partner, then forgets about it for a bit, and when the pandemic hits, he rediscovers it, shares it with friends and family, and then it takes off on Twitter. So it's not made for some nefarious purpose, it's just a fun word game that was shared with the world free of charge. And the creator, Wardle, didn't even seem to want to make money off of it. You'd think that that would put my mind at ease and make me less worried about Wordle, but nah. Made it worse. Okay, sure, Wordle itself is a fun little game and the guy that made it seems to be nice enough for now. But I just couldn't help thinking that something was gonna come out of the woodworks to ruin this game. And if I sound crazy to you right now, yes, but think about it, because I'm not the only one that has this kind of thing in mind. Wikipedia describes Milkshake Duck as 404 error page not found, but I think that the tweet that gave the concept its name explains it best. Essentially, a milkshake duck is someone or something that becomes suddenly very, very popular on social media and shortly thereafter loses it all because something unseemly comes out about them. It is an internet phenomenon that you have definitely seen before. Like Bean Dad, and then those racist tweets that resurfaced, or Kombucha Girl, you know, Brittany Broski, who had something to say about AAVE that people did not like. It sometimes feels like everyone who gets their 15 minutes of fame online will become a milkshake duck. And it kind of makes some sense. You know, we've all done or said things in the past that we probably shouldn't have, but sometimes it takes even less than that. You don't even really need to say or do anything all that bad. Remember Chewbacca Mum? She filmed herself wearing a Chewbacca mask and became famous for some reason.
Now watch when my mouth actually moves.
She had people turn on her when she started selling autographs for $20. Isn't that horrible? An autograph for $20? We must turn on you, woman! You are evil! Evil, I say! To be milkshake ducked, all you have to do, the bare minimum requirement, is to have people get annoyed at or tired of you. Which, if you're suddenly catapulted to internet fame, is pretty damn easy, if not inevitable. Again, Milkshake Duck coiner Pixelated Boat put it best when they said this. Our culture seems to create milkshake ducks almost as an inevitability, whether it's via high standards for acceptable behavior, or reasonable backlash to continued bad behavior, or a lack of belief that people can grow and change and become better people, or just getting bored and vindictive. If you've suddenly found a lot of digital eyes on you, the clock is ticking, buddy. But that's just one of the reasons that I was worried about the game. You know, the chance of Wordle, and by extension Wordle, being milkshake ducked. At least I was worried about that. Until the New York Times buyout. Then the New York Times bought Wordle out, which kind of seems like the bad ending. Remember Flappy Bird? Was it the same story? A man so overcome, overwhelmed with the negativity he's facing due to the thing that he created that he decides to remove himself from it. Now, this is the good ending. Yeah, Wordle whelmed Wordle, but the buyout was on his own terms. Really, nothing changed about Wordle outside of the URL that you used to get to it. Now, you might still be thinking of this as a big business swallowing up a smaller competitor, but that's not really the whole story. Wordle was made, in part at least, due to Wordle and his partner's love of word games, particularly those hosted by the New York Times. So in a way, Wordle kind of came full circle. It left Wordle, its creator, to live with the inspiration for its creation. There's really nothing remotely negative here. And if you're still not convinced, I say that as though you are the one that needs to be convinced and not me. Here is the note that he tweeted when he gave the company away. So a man made a game for his partner, it blew up and became incredibly popular, then he sold it to a company whose games he enjoys whilst ensuring that the game itself didn't change. This is a positive story. So why can't I help but prepare for the worst? Well, maybe because I'm at least a little bit pessimistic. I won't go too deeply into it here, partly because the signs of pessimism can be kind of conflicting and complicated, and partly because I'm writing this at 6 AM and I don't... Okay, I left that in the script, good to know. Anyway, moving past studies that show that pessimism can be linked to longer lives and also heart conditions, I'm interested in two kinds of bias. That's pessimism bias and attentional bias. The pessimism bias is essentially the expectation of bad outcomes. Crucially, the expectations are weighted or overestimated. Essentially, you expect bad things to happen more often than they actually do. And tied into that is the underestimation of the likelihood of good outcomes. So not only do you think a lot of bad things are going to happen when they're not necessarily, you also think not that many good things are going to happen when they might. Expecting negative outcomes can totally influence how you live your life and change how you act on a day-to-day basis. If you think that things are gonna go poorly, then why bother trying? It can be deeper than that though, because this kind of thinking is pretty common in depression. And it's not even necessarily considering that a negative outcome is likely. This can also manifest as thinking that a positive outcome is so unlikely that the negative one is almost inevitable. You could talk yourself into doing something that might go well, but you probably won't even consider it if all you can see is the bad. Similarly, attentional bias is something that affects, or rather describes, how you perceive events, although it's more about the perception of the present than it is about estimations of the future. There is so much information bombarding all of your senses at all times. You cannot process it all equally. Have you ever noticed that you can just not notice something that is seemingly obvious? Yeah, that's because your attention is biased towards things that your brain deems important. You ask someone to count the number of times a basketball has passed between a group of people, and they won't notice the gorilla walking through the shop. You can probably see where I'm going with this. Brains can sometimes misfire on what is and isn't important. And if your brain thinks that even minorly threatening things are important, then it's going to start pulling focus towards anything it remotely sees as a threat and start ignoring any evidence to the contrary. If you're constantly focusing on minor threats, then you're gonna be on edge. You're gonna think that every situation is a bad one. That kind of feels like what's happening here, though. We've all been so conditioned, we're wired to expect a bad outcome from something as seemingly harmless as a fun little word game, that now I can't help but wait for it all to come crumbling down, for data to be stolen, for the creator to be a fascist, for it to wreck the environment somehow. Even though there's not really anything to substantiate those thoughts, they are still there. I don't really know if there's any way to wrap this up. Wordle worried me, so I made this video as a way to talk through that, so thank you for indulging me in my little monologue. I guess I feel a bit better about Wordle now. I suppose the takeaway is that things can suck sometimes. Things can suck actually a lot of the time, especially when they seem like they don't suck. But a lot of things don't suck. In fact, there are a lot of not sucky things, although that number starts to dwindle if you only ever focus on the negatives. You can bear in mind that things might change, but don't let that get in the way of you enjoying it while you can. You know, like the duck might be racist, but I'm still glad that I could enjoy it enjoying its milkshake while it lasted. And the next time I see a beverage bird, I'm not gonna let worrying about the potential of some hidden bigotry get in the way of me enjoying that bird. Okay, that one kind of got away from me. My point is that expecting negative outcomes will probably just make you more likely to experience negative outcomes, because those will be the ones that you're paying attention to. Trying to shift your focus to the positives will probably just make your subjective experience that little bit better, because your brain will start keeping its eye on the bright side. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're anything like me and you worry about things that seem too good to be true, I hope it helped assuage your fears even a little bit. I'd also hope that if you liked this video, you could like, comment, and subscribe, because it actually does help a lot. And also, if you really want to help out, you could join my Patreon. My patrons' names are scrolling past here. If you join my Patreon, you get a whole bunch of perks like bonus videos, you get live streams, and actually, we're over halfway to doubling the number of bonus videos that I make a month. So once 50 patrons join, then I'll start making 2 bonus videos a month. But it's not just that, you can also get shout outs in the video, so I'm going to shout out some patrons now to say thank you. So first off, thank you to Denito, thank you to Maxwell17, and thank you also to Atraxia25. Let me just double check that one. Yes, Ataraxia25. I said it wrong and then I said it right. I think that is all. Thank you very much for watching this again. Goodbye.